We're on Daf Tzadi Dalid in Perek Hayisha Rabbah. And before Yom Kippur, we got up to Omolei Rav Mordechai Rav Ashi, which would be on Daf Tzadi Dalid, counting down approximately, my guess is 13 lines. Does that make sense? The first word in the line is Hazama. Now, we're talking about the possibility of relying on the testimony of a single aid echad, to be matir a yevama, amalei Rav Mordechai l'Rav Ashi, v'amalei Rav Acha l'Rav Ashi, Toshma. We're going to derive from the following Mishnah that we could rely on the testimony of one single aid to be matir a yevama l'ashuk. Ein ha'isha nemenes lomar meis yevami. A woman herself is not to be trusted to testify in a court of law that her yavam has died. So again, the case is that Leah is married to Reuven, and Reuven has a brother named Shimon. Reuven dies, and the wife of Reuven testifies that Shimon is dead, and therefore she can marry anyone from the shul. She's not believed. Why? Because she says she'en nase, meaning I can marry anyone I want because Shimon is dead. She's not believed. We'll soon see why. Now I have another case of a woman who's not believed. Lo, she's not believed to say Mesa Achosi. That my sister is dead, and therefore I can marry her alma. So as long as he's married to her sister, she cannot marry him, but she's achos ishto, and now she's testifying, well, my sister died. Not believe. Shekonis lebeisa, that I should be able to marry my late sister's husband. So this is a Mishnah quoted by Rav Mordechai. What did Rav Mordechai gain? What did he derive from this Mishnah? The Mishnah is disqualifying a woman from testimony in two cases. One is where she says her yavam died, and one is where she says that her sister died. But she's excluded because she's one woman that has a vested interest. Had she been a man from the shuk, from outside, he would apparently be believed. Ilu eid echad, if you're going to tell me that an eid echad eino neman lomar meis yavam, then why would the Mishnah have to tell me that she's not believed to say that my yavam died? Ilu eid echad eino neman lomer meis hayavam, he's not believed. Then the Mishnah has to tell me. Just 1 second. I don't understand the language. Ilu eid echad eino neman lomer meis baili meis hayavam. I saw Mishnah Tzricha Lomar Shed Echad Eino Neman Lomar. Why did the Mishnah have to pin it on an Isha? Why did the Mishnah just make a generic, absolute rule that we don't rely on the testimony of one aid? He said we would certainly derive the conclusion and have Isha in a menace. Is there a special avmina that she would be believed? If Eid Echad is not believed, that means we're not somech on Isha Daiko Mitzvah. Eina anu smoch somchim chai Isha tevarer heitev l'fnei shetinase shachena yova mes. In kein gam l'isha atzma ein laham in kishomer is muchach mishnah zu shekosva din ze beisha dafka beisha lo nemenes, and we'll give the reason why. But Eid Echad would be nem. Why isn't she believed? If an Eid Echad is believed, he ni de lo mehemna or Eid Echad mehema. He says, Eid Echad shemeis hayavam neman beidusa lahatiro sami mi aginusa from the state of Igun, Mishel zikas yavam. So the Eid Echad is believed to say the Yavam died. The Kevan shenokta mishtin misas hayavam. The Isha Omeres came nokta Mishnah Gam Din Misa Hachosbi Al Afshigam Eid Echad Edu Neman Lomer, because that's not an igus. Nimta Shed Echad Neman Lomer Shemeis Hayavam Kochenu Neman Lomer Shemeis Baila the Achra of Meis Haben, and therefore there's no yibum. Umatirno soli nase l'shuk al piv. Ekshem sheitilu chachamim beishes ish mishum chashash igun. V'tiknu shed echad yed neman lomer shemeis paila b'muteres linase al piv. Kach hikilu chacham b'yavama hasura linase machmas zikas al yibum shed echad neman lomer shehutra linase v'yichola linase al piv. So there's a logical analogy here. If the halacha allows Mishum Igun in the case of an HSH to rely on the testimony of one aid that her husband died and allow her to get remarried to avoid Igun, then the same thing applies in Yivamal Shuk. She's virtually an aguna. If she can't get chalitza, she can't marry anyone. And therefore, we're going to rely on Eid Echad to testify that her husband died. I'm just going to assume, until I'm proven wrong, that the reason she wouldn't be believed is because she wants to get married. So obviously it's in her interest to testify that the Yavam is dead. Or if she wants to marry the man who was married to her sister, it's in her interest to testify that her sister died. So if she has personal advantages, then we don't trust her. But in Eid Echad, we would trust. And you'll ask me, how can we trust in Eid Echad to be matter a woman who's Yevamal Shuk? The answer is because since we relied on an Eid Echad b'makom igun in a case of an Eshes Ish, then let's be consistent and consider this case also to be like Eden. And we can rely on one aid to testify that Masechet Yevamot. So this is a discussion between Rav Mordechai and Rav Ashi. Rav Mordechai quoted this Mishnah and made the analogy, made the intellectual jump from the reliability of an Eid Echad in the case of an Eishes Ish to the reliability of an Eid Echad in the case of a Yevama. And now Rav Ashi responds by rejecting this proof. Your deed from the Mishnah to the tune of Eid Echad is believed, even though she is not believed. That's not a fair deed. Why? According to you, Rav Mordechai, that the Mishnah mentions that a woman is not believed, so there will be medayik that another Eid Echad would be believed, even though she's not believed. Amos Sefer. How is your logic going to be reconciled with the last part of the Mishnah, which says, Ein ha'ish neman lomar meis achi. Now we're talking about the flip situation, where a man, an Eid Echad, is testifying that there is Yibum. Until now, the Mishnah was addressing an Eid Echad who testifies that there's no Yibum. Now we have an Eid Echad testifying that there is Yibum. And in this case, once again, there's a Baldover, a Nogeh Be'edus. It's the living brother, the surviving brother, who's testifying about his older brother, his younger brother, that he died. Not believed. Why? Because the import of his brother dying is that now he can marry his brother's wife. We don't trust him. Then it says, "V'lo mesa ishti." She'esa esachos. Again, the flip side, as we apply to Eishes Ach, my wife died and I can marry her sister. Not believe. So now, according to the logic and the methodology, Rabbi Mordechai, we should say that he's not believed, but someone else would be believed, according to Rabbi Mordechai's premises or methodology. So that means that according to Rabbi Mordechai, if an Eid Echad would testify that Shimon, the brother of Reuven, died, then Reuven was allowed and be obligated in marrying Shimon's wife. And he's being matir the erev of Eishasai. So what is Rav Ashi's problem here? Why is this something to slug up Rabbi Mordechai? I'll read to you what he says here. Who knew de lo beheman ha eid echad beheman v'natir lebal lisa sachos ishto varei I efshasheh din ken. I efshasheh din ken. Bishlema gabi isha. I understand the Reisha because we talk about an Isa Doraisa. It's Mishumi Guna Akilu Beirabana. So an Eid Echad is believed to testify that the Yavam is dead. She can marry anyone. And that's called Igu. Fine. Akilu Beirabana. El Gabea each. We want to be mata the erev of achos ichto. And therefore he's testifying that Mesa Ishti, my wife died, and therefore I can marry her. Her sister Leah is Michael Meimar. How could we be mata the erev of achos ishto based on the testimony of one witness? Where's the Egon over here? I mean, he can marry any woman in the world except for this woman, Leah. So there's no Egon over here. Now, your logic, Reb Mordechai, is that when the Mishnah says she in the ratio or he in the Sefer is not believed, the implication is that another Eid Echad would be believed. Why would we believe Eid Echad to be mata the erva of achos ishta? I mean, he can marry any woman in the world. There's no ego. So therefore, we see, says Rav Ashi, that your methodology is not going to fit with the Sefer. You can get away with the ratio, but you have to be consistent in your methodology. You have to apply the same rules and regulations to the Sefer that you applied to the ratio, but you cannot do. Because what are you going to do? You're going to say he's not believed to say my wife died and I can marry my wife's sister. He's not believed, but somebody else would be believed in another Eid Echad. Why would we believe another Eid Echad? The Torah says, "Ein davar sheberav talks nishnayim." This is not a makom igu. But where is Rav Ashi guiding us? Meaning, how does he understand the Mishnah? What method is he going to use to analyze the Mishnah and interpret? Ella, but rather we're going to have to conclude that the Mishnah doesn't have in mind when it mentions Isha or Ish in the Sefer, that Dafka they're not believed, but another Eid Echad would be believed. No. That methodology we have to put on the back burners. And in truth, even an Eid Echad would not be believed to say Masechet Yevamot. But ki yitzrich l'Rabbi Akiva yitzrich. We're holding now in this Mishnah that yesh mamzer mechayve lav. And now we need a chiddush of the Mishnah to tell me that a woman is not believed. Because if you only told me that a man, a single aid is not believed, which is the Shita Rav Ashi, we would not be able to derive the conclusion that a woman is not believed. Salke, I would have thought she should be believed. Oh, is if this Yevama would marry someone from the Shuk, then she passes all her zera as a mamzer. That's according to Rabbi Akiva. Because Rabbi Akiva holds Yech Mamzer Michayve Lavim. So Yevama L'Shuk is Chayve Lavim. And now, if she gets married to this guy, all her children are mamzeret. Is Ema, if not for this Mishnah, I would have thought, Chaysha Akilkula de Zara V'Daika, which means that she doesn't want her children to be psulim. And therefore, she'll be very careful to make sure that she knows that the Yavam is dead. And that she's not, her status is not that of a Yevama L'Shuk. So when she testifies Yavam Mes, we can trust her. Because she would, the last thing in the world she wants to do is marry someone from the Shuk and her children would be mamzeret. But if a single aide would testify Meis Hayavam, then we don't have that extra svara to give him credibility. Even though now she's going to marry someone from the Shuk. 1 second. Oh, here he is. Yesh lachu, she is. Shehiso meches al dvara. Beautiful. If she's not the one testifying Meis Bailon, she gets married to the Shuk based on the testimony of one aide, then she says, all right, I'm going to rely on his testimony. She's not the one who's responsible for the heter. So therefore, if the Mishnah would have mentioned this halach in the case of Eid Echad, we would not be able to conclude, do me a favor, Steve, don't throw that at me. We would not be able to conclude that she's not believed. Maybe she should be believed because she doesn't want to be responsible for the kilkul, the mamzeris of Azera. Kamash Malan, that's why the Mishnah has to tell me this din in the case of an Isha, that she's not believed to say Meis HaYavam, even though we would have argued, well, now she's being mater herself to the Shuk, and that's mamzeris, right? That's kilkul Zara. We're not going to rely on it. And in truth, an Eid Echad would also not be believed. But just we couldn't tell you that because that wouldn't necessarily justify the conclusion that she's not believed. Maybe the Eid Echad is not believed, but she should be believed. But in truth, she's not believed. The Eid Echad is not believed. And yesh lachush shemach masin osa gdol yavam. The reason why she's saying that the yavam is dead is because the last thing she wants to do is marry the yavam. She has no interest in marrying the yavam. Is yesh lachush shemach masin osa gdol yavam lo devar hetev she's not going to check out thoroughly whether her Yavam is alive or dead. She heard a rumor that he went out to, to the ends of Russia and he froze over there. I don't know what. So she believes it because she doesn't want to marry the Yavam. She wants to marry somebody else. Binashur. Is lo tavar heite b'fneisha tinase shachem meis hayavam. She's not going to clarify that the Yavam actually died. Okay, now you're going to say she's not checking it out well, and she cannot be believed to say Meis HaYavam. But what about another aid? V'lo tiknu chachamim lahamid leid echad, and eid echad is only believed because we rely on her daiku mitzvah, her checking it out. B'makom sheish lismoch ala isha shemavareres livnation niseis shei muteres. But here, she's not going to go through that extra effort, the extra yard, the 10th yard, to check out whether it's true, the rumor that she heard that the Yavam died. Because she doesn't want to marry the Yavam, she wants to marry someone in Ashur. So if she's not going to check properly, we can't rely on the Eid Echad. Because the reliability, the credibility of the Eid Echad is made up of an integration of A plus B, his testimony from what he hopefully honestly tells us, and secondly, the fact that she would be Daiku Mitzvah, but here we don't have that extra element, therefore we're not going to rely on it. Now, I'm not sure about the next line in the Gemara. Do you have parentheses on it? I have parentheses on it. Akilkula di da chaysha, akilkula di zare lo chaysha. I have it in parentheses. So I'm not sure if that girsa is the right reliable girsa. So let's stop here with Rava Omar. On Daf Tzadi Dalid Amid Aleph. And Amir Hashem, that's where we'll pick it up tomorrow. So let me wish you a good day. Tomorrow you can come? Oh, okay, great.